Let's start from the very, very beginning. I regret that I don't know enough about this topic to even pretend to speak eloquently about it. So I'm really grateful you're here. Let's
Okay.
start with the players involved. And by the way, I'm convinced that the media either is on the wrong side or doesn't know what they're talking about either, and doesn't admit it. So let's make sure we do. Who are the players involved? Who are the names and areas that we need to be aware of?
Sure. So I'll go back, and in your intro, you said between Palestine and Israel. So there is no actual nation of Palestine. Palestine was what this area was before it became Israel, but it did not belong to the Palestinians. So that's a misnomer that many people quote. And you so humbly admitted that you don't know much about it, so you don't speak about it or try to speak about it eloquently. Well, many people they brag about speaking about it and do so across the media, celebrities on Instagram and influencers who are leading the conversation about what's going on, and they know nothing. They don't know the history. They are, using terms that are absolutely false. And thank you for having me on. We can start with.
Let me interject here first, because as soon as I said Palestine, I was like, wait a second. As soon as I said that, literally, I was like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's a place. Let's talk about that. What is it?
Sure.
What is that? What's the geography? What was it, etc.? Let's really understand.
Yeah, you know what happens is most people know about it from like biblical times, and then you fast forward, it's like, okay, there's a war there every single day, right? So what happened in between? That's important to know. After World War I, it came about the end of the Ottoman Empire. They ruled there for 400 years. So the people who lost this land were actually the Ottomans, not the Palestinians. And then the Brits took over. That was the end of World War I. They took over this tiny piece of land the size of New Jersey, and it became theirs. So fast forward to, and it was just this barren land that no one really had claims to, no one cared for, and it was occupied by both people of Jordanian, Palestinian, and Israeli descent. Then fast forward to the end of World War II, and the Holocaust happened. Then the Brits, together with the United States, thought to themselves, you know what? We said we're going to make a state out of this. Let's give it to the Jews and make it an official Jewish state. So it took some time, and in 1948, then was established the modern state of Israel, and it became the first modern democratic state in the Middle East. It gave the West, meaning the Europeans and the United States, an ally, a modern democratic secular ally in the region, and it gave the Jews a homeland. So we had side by side Jordanians, Palestinians, and Jews living there, and it was okay until it wasn't. Once it was established as the state of Israel, the wars began, and you had the war of 1948 and 49. You had the Six-Day War. Wars upon wars upon wars, and in this time period, you had wars with almost every neighbor of Israel, including the Jordanians and the Egyptians, and the Palestinians were this these orphans, basically. They didn't have a homeland for themselves, but they were being told by the Arab nations around them that you should fight Israel. They basically became mercenaries. You should fight Israel for your right to have land. And this became this perpetual victimhood that the Palestinians are living. And they had different leadership. They vote for leadership. And as we all know, these terror organizations, they have deep, support in some brackets of Palestinian society, because they put up the soup kitchens, and they put up the schools, and they put up the mosques, and they put up all sorts of community centers, and they get somewhat of this shallow support. And if you fast forward to, just this past decade, well, Hamas was voted into power, particularly in Gaza and in the West Bank. So these are two different pieces of land that belong to the Palestinians. They have autonomy over these areas, and they basically bookend this small sliver of land that I said was the size of New Jersey, that is Israel. And they have, the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, Hamas in Gaza, and from these areas, they do suicide bombings. They launch 3,000 missiles into Israel just this past week, and there you have it. This is the very complicated, very complex, very sad story of Israel that is just cannot live in a peaceful neighborhood.
Wow, that was deep
and insightful. I want more of that. Like,
Subscribe. Get more.